Greetings, fellow moviegoers, movie lovers, and movie snobs, both high and lowbrow, and even no-brow. Ha! You're the ones who really got to look out for. You got your highbrows who go in for the art film, you got your lowbrows who love to watch things explode, and you no-brows, you just like any old thing. We're watching you. I'm Dave Smith from the Pretentious Movie Snobs. Welcome to this, the inaugural grand opening, first Pretentious Movie Snob podcast. A place to listen to snooty movie snobs talk about, well, movies. Today we're talking mostly about Django Unchained and lots of other stuff too. Plus, I have a feeling that I may know more about slavery than Spike Lee does. I don't think he has any sort of... Well, black people kind of adopted slavery, even though
we adopted it?
Really,
I don't remember anything from when I was a kid. I think it's due to a lack of trauma.
me's a thinking George Lucas fucked up the whole series. This is actually something I wanted to say too, is I wanted to encourage all of you young screenwriters out there. Don't write screenplays.
You don't know who Benedict Cumberbatch is?
Of course I don't. I have a life. Who is Benedict
He's the guy with the
Cumberbatch?
Britishest name in history.
At the white people meeting we had last time, we didn't talk about reinstituting slavery, right? You think it's still bad,
Not
right?
last time.
Thick buckets of backlit blood. Oh, it was beautiful.
I have a degree in film studies. It was because I didn't want a job in the movie industry.
Or anywhere else.
Anywhere else, yeah.
I was once on a flight to Tennessee with Ray Charles, and it was great because you could stare right at him and he wouldn't know.
Yeah, that wasn't funny, Dave. I'm sorry.
Thanks for downloading this one. Join us as we fumble through our first session like teenagers making out in the back seat of our dad's car. Wait, that implies we're siblings or something. That's kind of... I didn't mean that. Well, you know what I mean. Sure, it's rough around the edges and all over the place, but it won't always be that way. Here it is, the Pretentious Movie Snob Podcast number 1. Two white dudes, one black chick. Your reverse Oreo of cinematic pontification. The Pretentious Movie Snobs. How about that intro, guys and girl?
That was a thing of beauty, David Smith.
I'd like to thank me for recording that. It's amazing what you can do with iMovie.
Oh.
I'm sure everyone who uses iMovie, probably know.
You shouldn't let anyone exactly what tools you use, though, because you want to make. Because everyone has iMovie. You want to make them think you have some people using Pro Tools.
No.
You had to cut some tape together.
No,
thank you, Kent. That was Kent, and I'm Dave, and that lovely chocolatey, silky voice back there in the background is Kimberly.
Kimberly.
Lovely, intelligent.
We'll be Kimberly today. Kimberly.
Yeah. And we are the Pretentious Movie Snobs.
We
Why
are.
are we called the Pretentious Movie Snobs, exactly? I have some theories on that. It's because our taste is a lot better than most people's taste.
True that.
And, and we need to help people. We need to give people a cinematic reach around a little bit. Because... It's our, I'll include myself, and it's our their fault that Hollywood just sucks so bad. All they want to do is make the same goddamn movie over and over again.
That's true.
I don't have too much of a beef with comic books now, because comic books are just starting to be able to be made now because of CGI, which they're overusing, but we'll get into that later.
Yeah, I think it's important that we understand what does it mean to be a pretentious movie snob. And I think there's one major criteria is that you believe there is an objective sense of quality, that it's not all subjective. Some stuff actually does suck and some stuff is really great. It doesn't much matter what your opinion is about it. There are objective criteria by which movies can be evaluated, and we know what that criteria is. We're not telling.
I agree with that. But on the other hand, you also don't want to rate, say, the latest Texas Chainsaw Part 4 against something like The King's Speech. You might want to put it in its own genre. It's like, well, okay, for a horror movie, it's done pretty well. You don't want to necessarily compare it to The King's Speech necessarily. You could.
Yeah,
you
sure.
Could say it's not as good, but you say for in the genre, it's pretty
really.
good.
Different. Well,
Kimberly's shaking her head over there.
Let's hear what Game has to say.
No. I just, you guys are, claiming that we're pretentious movie snobs, but I think the most important thing to state is that we are pretentious movie snobs because we are better than most people, and we have more taste
Well, our taste is better than most people.
Our taste is better, perhaps, or we believe.
I have a bad back, so I'm not better than most people. But
oh no, but we are, seriously.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
but no, but we believe that we know better. But I mean, again, this is very subjective. But I do believe that you guys have superb taste in movies. Sometimes.
We do.
Sometimes.
Oh shucks.
And this is how to win a mass audience right here.
Exactly, except for when I disagree with you guys, and then that's where we'll differ.
And then you're wrong.
Exactly. So, we can't all be right, and when we're not all right, that means it's that I'm right and you guys are wrong, but I do respect you guys.
The good Lord made wrong people so that right people could have someone to correct and look down upon.
I'm going to toast to that. We're holding drinks all at the same time right now, so here's to being right. How about that?
Oh yes, I got my Kirkland bourbon here. I'm taking a sip of right now.
Got my shot of Knob Creek, which I got to finish.
Very good.
I'm drinking Yellowtail. I think it's a Cabernet Sauvignon.
We started out with 3 listeners. Now we're down to 1. We better get rolling. Oh, by the way, you guys, before the show tonight, I was late getting home. I'm a hero. I want you to know because
I've always felt that.
I'm a hero. I helped save the rainforest today. I had a cheeseburger at the Rainforest Cafe.
Wow.
And I had a beer. So I want you to I just want just a second of silence to absorb what I did. So I think some of my money went to a specific kid. I think his name is Onumbute. He's one of the Peruvian kids. He's got like a ashtray in his lip. But I'm sponsoring him, I guess, from my cheeseburger. But I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to toot my own horn.
I know that's the great thing about you, Dave, is all the wonderful things you do for everyone. You don't say anything about it.
No, he's modest.
I rarely.
It's as if a fairy or a magic elf has performed these deeds.
I think you deserve a day. Like we deserve a special day in your honor, Dave. To be honest.
Okay, well we can decide what the actual date's going to be.
Okay.
So we'll talk about that off the air.
Okay.
You know what I wanted to do first is tell the people not how we all met because they don't care, but maybe they do. We've known each other.
I don't care how we all met.
How did we all meet? I used to work with Kent and the fabulous and the captioning district in Burbank, and then Kimberly eventually came in there too, and so we all worked in the captioning district over there. It's near the Hammock district.
Yeah, it's a pretty involving task. You have to actually typeset all the captions. You have to bind.
I think you're losing people now, Kent.
That's what I try to do. That's part of pretension. I have a pretense.
Well, it's what it was when we started. Now they do it with computers.
With pewters?
Those kids.
I feel hornswoggled.
I'm not even going to touch on that. I'm sorry.
Don't worry, I'm going to cut that out.
So we're about 8 minutes in, and nobody's talked about movies yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I wanted to do first is let me check my little beat sheet here, but I think I wanted to talk about how, because I know Kent and I feel strongly about movies, and I wanted to know. I know Kimberly is a lover of movies too, and I wanted to know about your first memories of seeing movies and like if they had an impact on you, and maybe what was the first movie that really like made you go wow and like really spoke to you, really moved you. And I don't know who wants to start. I have one. I could go. I'm the oldest one of the group, so
Ancient.
I have a memory. Probably one of my first memories is seeing a re-release of Frankenstein at the drive-in with my parents. I was in the back seat of the car. I think I was probably like 3 or 4, and absolutely petrified. I think I shit myself, or once or twice. And they had to leave because I was just screaming in the back seat of the car so much. But that was probably 1970, 71 or something.
Wow.
So, and then I remember seeing Young Frankenstein in a my dad called it the walk-in theater because he's used to going to drive-in. So he'd go, yeah, we're going to a walk-in. Ooh. And The Sting, which might remind Kimmy of something because we saw that. I think I remember seeing The Sting with my mother. This was 1973, I think.
That was my year of birth. Sorry.
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
Apology.
Are we supposed to know that?
I know. Just cut that out. Cut that out. Cut that out.
Okay, I'll cut that out.
Okay.
I'm not going to cut that.
1983?
73. So the year of The Sting. But I remember being in the theater, probably, very young, obviously, and I think it's past the spoiler alert stage because the Sting is like, what, 45 years old or 40 years old? I don't know. So there's a scene where Robert Redford gets shot, but he's really not dead. He's got the blood coming out of his mouth. And I remember at that point he's laying down and some girl yelled out, "He ain't dead, he got a pill in his mouth." I was like, that's some black chick. I think they were like Cerritos or something down here. So
That's pretty good.
So there you go.
Speaking of black, if you haven't guessed by the many terms that Dave has used, I am black. But the thing is, I'm not.
Wait a minute.
Black American. I'm black Canadian.
Not African American. Yes.
I didn't notice that you were black. I only ever noticed the content of your character.
Oh, that's mighty kind of you, Kent. But I guess everybody should know if they can't tell over the what is this? Over the waves or over the network or whatever we're speaking
I think
over.
it's called the interwebs.
The interwebs.
Yeah.
I am black.
But not African American, as everyone will assume if they see a picture of her. Which you are Jamaican by way of Canada. Is that correct?
Jamaican Canadian or Canadian-Jamaican, whichever comes first.
By the way, can I interject at this point that in my cupboard I have like 4 freaking coffee mugs that say Canada on them, and my daughters have like little sakis that say Canada. Is this your doing?
It has to be my doing. Who else do you know from Canada? I didn't realize I got to stop bringing mugs. I got to get a little more creative and mix it up a little. Yeah. But
I like drinking it. Every time I drink one, I think of Kimmy, so that's good.
Well, there
sweet.
you go. It served its purpose. Nice. But
so yes, being black
black in Canada, as opposed to being black in America, is a very different experience. And people do make fun of me, or did make fun of me, because maybe I'm not the traditional, black American.
No, siree.
No, I am. I'm different. So, but I do say there's one stereotype that everybody is very aware of, I think, is that black people in general are quite late. So my memories growing up... No, heaven forbid, no. I know. But black people, typically, for whatever reason, are believed to be late for many events and many gatherings. I don't know where that stereotype came from. It is. It's a little racist, and I'm offended.
I will say she did pop into the podcast about 15 minutes.
That's true.
I did not. I was on time.
We were waiting.
I just didn't know how to figure everything out and get on. But that's a
You're
whole
on
other
time,
story.
even if you weren't there.
I was here all along. But I will say, growing up, I mean, there are definitely movies that have stood out for me, and I can go over those. But we were always late for movies. It was usually my mom and her best friend, and then her kids and my brother and I were always late for movies. So I don't know if you guys know what it's like watching a movie 15 minutes in. You're walking into the movie theater after, the most important part has already taken place. So you kind of miss out on, what if, and I'm trying to remember some movies that are just really significant, like you have to watch the first few minutes, like maybe Memento or...
Sure. These days the opening hook is like, is that why you guys always ask the characters on the screen later, like what's going on?
Absolutely, yeah, because we come late, and then we want to ask questions after the fact. I'm sorry, I apologize. I'd like to think that it's only black people that are late to everything, but I bet if we did a scientific study, you'd probably find that about the same percentage of black people as white people are late, as opposed to the ones on time. But it's more fun to think it's just black people. We're getting a bad rap here. I mean, again, we could talk about other black stereotypes, because again, the movies that are out right now, like Django.
Oh, we will. I have a notebook full. Where is it? Okay,
Dave has a list of observations.
I left it on the toilet tank.
Oh, that's nice.
I'll go run and get it.
That's real classy, Dave. Okay, but yeah, I mean, yeah, I just
so earliest memory of what movie? Say going into the theater.
You know what? I think there are so many movies, but I mean, there's Bedknobs and Broomsticks and the Herbie movies. I loved the Herbie movies. But
those came out like 15 years later in Canada, though. So
they did not.
I'm just
they
kidding.
did not. But E.T.
They all cost $1 more.
They all cost $1 more. Yeah, with the exchange rate. Actually, it was less. It was a deal. But E.T. was very magical. I mean, Spielberg.
Okay, right.
Yeah, that was really touching. I don't think we saw the beginning of it, so.
That was 82, maybe, I think. Yeah. So you're a little older than. Yeah, but yeah, okay.
Yeah,
but that's still young.
E.T. definitely stood out, and again, when I was in my preteens, definitely one of my biggest movies, like my all-time favorites, was Back to the Future. I had the hugest crush on Michael J. Fox and
Christopher Lloyd. You mean?
Oh, Christopher Lloyd, actually, yes.
And Crispin Glover.
And Crispin Glover.
Now I know you've written Christopher Lloyd, Crispin Glover /fic, haven't you?
No, I haven't.
Ah.
No.
What?
Sorry, I can't help you there.
That was a joke for the internet community.
It's going to be lost on me. I'm sorry. I'm not geeky like you guys.
It was lost on everyone but me.
Yeah.
And I didn't
Just
even like it.
go back into your cave, Kent.
Kent, what's your earliest, maybe of a walk-in theater, as my dad would say. What's your earliest memory of going to the movies?
I know I've never been to a drive-in theater. And I also know my people, the Dutch Germanic folks, are always on time. And we sit silently and appreciatively in the movie house. But I have a form of childhood amnesia. I don't remember anything from when I was a kid. I think it's due to a lack of trauma.
Wow.
That it was just, there's nothing significant happened in my life for the first 33 years. But
it wasn't when your Uncle Rodney took you there and made you reach into the popcorn container, and so you blocked it out?
No, nothing happened.
Okay.
That wasn't butter, was it?
It's like trying to remember one dune in the desert. But
sure.
I know that the first movie I saw was in the theater was Return of the Jedi.
Oh.
Okay.
Because
very good.
I cried when the Ewoks died.
Did they have any Ewoks die? I guess there was
a couple
one.
Ewoks died.
Couple.
Yeah. Now, as a more sophisticated, pretentious movie viewer, I cry when the Ewoks show up.
Yes.
It's like, this is when something important kind of lost its way, flew off the rails.
Speaking of that, I wish I could time travel and have Disney purchase the series right after Return of the Jedi instead of waiting till 3 more movies went by.
My God.
Well, early 80s Disney would not have been a good steward of the Star Wars movies. They were putting out a lot of crap.
Or maybe Don Bluth would show up and buy the series. That's a joke for Kent there.
Yeah, you
I liked it.
I'm going to take a step out of this one. But I'm
Don't you love The Secret of NIMH?
Jar Jar Binks. That's the thing. I think it just... the whole series went downhill. So, but
I'm thinking George Lucas fucked up the whole series.
The first 3 though are pretty magical. I agree with that. So, but I don't think I watched them until much later. I didn't really appreciate it, and then I had a friend that loved the movies, and I was like, "These are pretty darn good."
Well, when I was in junior high school, I would watch one of them a day. I would get home from school. I'd usually get out early because I didn't do PE. I was on a swim team. And I would, before I'd go to do my swim workout, I would watch whichever one I hadn't seen up to then.
I hope you came in and still in your little Speedo and you hadn't toweled off yet and you have those little glistening droplets of water on your
Dave, you got to keep your fantasies to yourself.
Dave, this was before I'd go to swim team. It was before my workout. So I was wearing nothing.
Oh,
not even a Speedo.
We don't want a visual of this. Please do not scare the audience that we have of one. Please.
And I was a cute, tubby little kid. It was.
I come from an era where I remember lugging the top-loading VCR, which probably weighed upwards of 40 pounds, across the street to dub a copy of Empire Strikes Back that had already been dubbed about 16 times. So you're like, I think that's Yoda. No, that's Obi-Wan Kenobi. Yeah, and I never watched them. I would just waste all this time dubbing them and say, well, I got a copy.
Wow.
So that's where I come from. And then eventually it's like DVD, Laserdisc came out, and then, this is amazing.
You still have your Laserdisc collection, don't you, Dave?
I think I tossed them.
You didn't toss them?
You didn't even sell them?
Come on.
Nobody was buying them.
Somebody was going to want that. Somebody's going to look back in time and say, gee, I wish I could find a Laserdisc of this movie. Seriously.
Maybe, but it's probably the guy that just died that J.J. Abrams let see the new Star Trek before he, that guy with cancer?
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Someone like that might want to buy the... You hear that news story? I was saving it for the news segment, but some guy, big Star Trek fan, was dying of cancer, and he somehow... Is it J.J. Abrams?
Yeah, J.J. Abrams.
It is J.J. Abrams.
Yeah. He got word of it, and he let the guy see it before he died, and he died.
Oh, well, he's seen all that he's needed to see at this point. Wow.
I think so. Probably doesn't have children, because, if it was me, I'd rather spend...
other wishes.
I don't want to waste 2 hours watching fucking Star Trek.
Well, you've got daughters. You've got 2 beautiful girls.
Yeah.
So.
I don't know. Weighing your kids against Benedict Cumberbatch?
Who's Benedict?
Yeah. You don't know who Benedict Cumberbatch is?
Of course I don't. I have a life. Who is Benedict Cumberbatch?
He's the guy with the Britishest name in history.
The Britishest name?
Yeah.
The Britishest name. Okay.
The Britishest name. Yeah. Benedict Cumberbatch.
Yeah, it's kind of
pretty fucking British.
Yeah. So, are you guys are you excited about this new J.J. Abrams movie? Just out of curiosity. Did you like the first one?
Sure.
I thought he did a great job.
I liked his Star Trek. Yeah, I think it was pretty good. I don't remember anything about it, but I remember liking it.
It was very entertaining. I thought it was a really good revamp.
I'm not a Star Trek guy. Dave is much more to Star Trek. This shows you how empty my life is. I actually kind of made a proposition to myself that I'm going to watch all of the original Star Trek series this year because I've never seen any of it.
Good.
But the Star Trek movie, I don't think it was great Star Trek, but it was a really good action movie. Mm-hmm. It wasn't really science fiction because it was about whiz-bang things happening and explosions, and there weren't a whole lot of ideas in the movie, but it was a great action movie and really engaging, and J.J. Abrams is really fantastic about wringing the most out of every situation that he develops in the movies that he makes. Even though I don't love any of them, like he made Super 8 last year, which 2 years ago now, which was pretty good. Every J.J. Abrams movie is a lot of fun and is pretty good.
Oh, come on now. I think it's better than pretty good. I mean, he can tell a story. He's very entertaining. I mean, he holds your interest from beginning to end.
That's what pretty good means.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Pretty good.
So, okay, if he's pretty good, let's say who's, in your opinion, let's say Dave and Kent, pretty awesome. Pretty fucking awesome.
Quentin Tarantino is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
David Cronenberg.
David Cronenberg kind of freaks me out, and he's Canadian.
Yes,
I
that's
respect
the point.
him.
Yeah, he's from Toronto. Yeah.
Is he from Toronto? I know he's Canadian.
And he sets a lot of his movies and films a lot of his movies in Toronto.
Oh, that's good. It's cheaper there. I mean, that's why they go up north, because it's cheaper. But are we going to talk about it? Yeah.
Might as well, because we all saw Django. Did we see Django? Did you see Kent?
Yeah, I saw Django yesterday morning.
What's the general consensus? I loved it.
I enjoyed it, and I'm black.
You enjoyed it?
So
I thought it was a very good movie, and showed to me again that Quentin Tarantino is an awesome filmmaker who makes movies I don't love.
Well, okay. That's a good point, because I know he's getting a lot of heat, and I know that some white people are going to feel afraid to, make a comment and say they love it or don't love it. But, I mean, as a black person, I know there are some people that are offended, like Spike Lee, and, he hasn't seen it. But
Yeah, exactly.
I think a generally good sign of when you shouldn't listen to Spike Lee is when he's talking.
Yeah, and you're going to say that.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that.
Right.
Well, Quentin's kind of like my boy, because I've never really met the guy, but I've been in quite a few theaters where he's sitting right behind me.
He sat beside me in a theater.
He did, yeah. I just end up at the theater and he's there,
Is his face as huge in real life as it is in the movie?
Is his what?
A giant head.
Well,
he's got a big
head.
Actually
he's a hulking person. He's a big dude, which was really funny because Cat Williams said he was going to beat him up.
Oh my God! And Cat's little.
Cat Williams, he's like 4'9".
He's short, but he's scary. It's like those little dogs that are like really tiny, but then they're the ones that bark a lot. You got to watch out for Cat Williams.
My money's on Quentin on that one. I think he will kill the guy. So I hope that happens. But for my money, I don't think there's nobody that's better at writing and directing these types of movies that are they are quite out of left field, like Inglourious Basterds. Where did that come from? He's quite good at pulling something out of the air. I mean, he steals a lot from other movies, but he makes his own thing out of them.
He's like a person who makes art out of found material. He takes a plot line from here, a character here, and then throws in something completely original, which in the last two movies has been the Christoph Waltz characters.
Oh, yeah.
That aren't like anything you've really seen in other movies. That's what I think elevates him above other people who are doing, kind of pastiche work, or, kind of like a Guy Ritchie type who is, making his 70s gangsters movies with British folks. Quentin Tarantino always has some original material in there that is like something you haven't ever seen.
Yeah, and he's very good at weaving a story together that's pretty complex and twisty-turny. Like, how many times were you thinking, oh, fuck, this movie's over? What? How the hell? We still got like 45 minutes to go. How the fuck they gonna get out of this? But he's real good at that.
Yeah, he can tell a story. I'll have to say that, I know a lot of people had problems with the N-word and the issue of slavery. And I don't think he's trying to make a statement. He's not trying to change the world. I think he's just doing what he wants to do, and he's having fun doing it. And I think that's it. You can't really take it personally and read too much into it,
Well, I think that's with Quentin Tarantino movies. I don't think there is a grand social statement really being made. it seems to me, his movies are more interested in having integrity to the characters and to the world he creates than in making any sort of statement. Like
thank God somebody smart is here to talk about Quentin Tarantino.
And that's Kent, right?
That interesting. Yeah. But hey, well, let's tell the people. Kent actually has a degree in film from USC.
Yeah. I have
in film theory.
I have a degree in film studies. It was because I didn't want a job in the movie industry.
Or anywhere else.
Anywhere else, yeah. I was kind of trying to be useless. It's my way of rebelling against the system. I do that. I write reviews for explodedgoat.com, which is a webzine I started with a friend of mine. So this is just the introductions. We've already taken 25 minutes of this podcast. But let's talk specifically. Now, the problem or the issue that arose with Django Unchained was its prodigious, for a lot of people, was this prodigious use of the N-word. I find it a little... It seems to me that people have the problem with that are exactly the same as folks who have the problem with the prodigious use of the N-word. In fact, the character with name in Huckleberry Finn. Mm-hmm. It's the way that they were talked about at the time. They being slaves, black people, unfree folks. And you notice the one most sympathetic character in the whole movie, besides Django, is Christoph Waltz.
A German?
And the German, which is funny on its own. But he only ever refers to black people or Django with the N-word when he's in a character.
Oh, I love Christoph Waltz. I think he's very talented. He does a great job, and I think actually one of the reasons I like this movie with him in it is that some people are afraid he's going to get typecast because he plays a wonderful villain, but I think he's very, you like him. He's very compassionate. And, of course, he comes off as a little loopy, and he has a sadistic nature to him. But, he has a soft spot for Django. And also, that scene when do we give away spoilers about, the dogs or do we not talk about any of that?
I think we should talk around it because it's still new.
Okay.
Maybe.
Well,
we could wait a few years for the spoilers. So I don't care so much. But maybe now this is still pretty fresh. Maybe we'll talk around it a little bit.
Again, there are some scenes that, they have the good guys and the bad guys, and you can definitely see the type of person that he is, even though he's he's a killer, he's a bounty hunter. You can see his compassion inside, and you know that he's a good person. And it's great to see him in this role because what was it? The other one he did with Reese Witherspoon.
Oh, Water for Elephants?
Yes. Again, he was playing the same bad guy. It was very stereotypical. So it was nice to see him in a different role. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to say, to be perfectly honest, if a black person had directed this, I don't know if there would have been as much controversy about the use of the N-word. I think that's the main problem.
Well, Spike Lee has historically complained about Quentin Tarantino and his use of the N-word. And what's interesting is that in previous movies, like in Pulp Fiction, it was used as a colloquialism of just people talking to each other. It wasn't a pejorative.
No.
And in this movie, it was specifically a pejorative. It was always used by either whites or by black characters, especially Samuel L. Jackson, who'd internalized the sort of world they were living in to really point that this is another. This is, at some point, Leonardo DiCaprio says they're not even the same species. We're two species living together, and that's how they actually think about it. And that's completely different from the use of the N-word in Pulp Fiction.
Here are my thoughts on the use of the N-word. I personally do not agree with it. I don't think anybody should be using it on a regular basis, not rappers, not people speaking to their friends. I don't think it's a proper term. It's like calling each other asshole. It's not needed. There are other words that you can use to. But in the case, again, within the context of this particular movie, that was the name, that was the word that was used during the time. So to me, it seemed acceptable. And for whatever reason, I don't know what it is, but Quentin can have the N-word. He can have so much violence in there. You see the blood, and some of it was gory, but for whatever reason, maybe because it has kind of a cartoony feel to it, I don't find it as offensive. It didn't offend me as much. Some parts I was like, "Ee," but it was never never as gory. It's like a piece of art. It's like a form. Right. It's like an art form. So it didn't bother me as much. So yeah.
Yeah, I was struck by one particular shot in there. This thick buckets of backlit blood from a doorway. Oh, It was beautiful, spraying out of their heads. A lot of slave owner type guys get their heads just explode.
That's right.
And I enjoyed every explosion. I loved it.
Really?
Well, that's kind of what
They're easy villains, though.
Of course.
I understand though. Sometimes that was the institution of slavery was well entrenched, being around for a couple thousand years, and okay, even if you're nice to your slaves, you're still chaining them up and making them work for you for free and not letting them go. So if they kill you, it's on you. Sorry,
you're still owning
I don't
a
care
person.
how nice you are to them.
Exactly.
But the thing about this movie, though,
it was good seeing them get killed.
And where you might see, I don't pay attention to what anyone else says. I live in my own little cave. I play my banjo. I just hang out. But you can
really
see that there's
play
a
a
lot
banjo.
of violence in this movie, but different kinds of violence are filmed in different ways. You see the violence against the bad guys, against the villains. It's the hyperbolic, blood exploding everywhere fun. It's made there so that people in the audience say, all right, I liked watching that guy explode. When the violence against the slaves, against people who are actual innocent victims, was shot much more discreetly, generally not as graphically. You see more of the aftermath than the actual violence, and the focus is entirely on the pain of the victims and the glee or the indifference of the people watching it. So,
those scenes were hard to watch.
Very much
I think
so.
the one you're talking about is very hard to watch.
Yeah.
Like you said, with the dogs.
And then in the flashback,
brutal.
when Christoph Waltz is thinking about it and they actually show more, that was very difficult. But
that's why you can see why it's kind of insipid for folks to say that. Well, I don't like the violence. Is he? There's a word I'm looking for that is about making thing not as important as it is. Is he trivializing slavery by putting? But the two different types of violence are shot very differently. They have very different emotional impacts to anyone who's really paying attention to what they're seeing. And I think it's very. It always puts you in line with sympathizing with, especially the one. I think I can talk about this. The one fight. That was just hard. It was for me to see. Horrible and brutal, and there was nothing fun about it. Like the shootouts are fun; they're neat and they're fun. It's this is ridiculous, this is crazy. But that was it was just horrifying. It made you feel jittery through part of the movie because it was so terrible.
Here's my thing. I think again, I don't think he's. I think people will think he's making light of a certain situation, but he isn't. I mean, when you see that scene where. Again, I don't want to go into specifics about it, where you have a human being that is pretty much forced to be like an animal, so to speak, or to kill or do something against his will. I mean, it's just heart-wrenching. So even though he does make light of many things, he isn't. He definitely does make a statement in the sense that, I mean, the treatment of people. How do I explain this? Again, when you're forced to do something against your will, and then it's also just demeaning a person, and you're not. I don't know how to explain it. It was just very sad to see, and to remind us that this actually happened. I mean, things like this happened every day, and we're so fortunate not to be in that situation anymore. But we can still look back on it and remember. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's when I first heard the subject matter. I was thinking, this is going to be. I heard revenge tale, ex-slave, and I thought, holy shit, Quentin is going to wring out every last drop of this because I mean, when you start seeing the flashbacks of Jamie Foxx, remember the first guys they come up to, he was, these guys whipping people, and you're like, oh boy, this is going to be awesome.
Well,
he's going to.
I don't know about awesome.
It's great, but it's perfect. It's perfect revenge. Revenge movies are great like that because this is perfect. Soil for this type of story, the revenge fantasy story.
He didn't back away from anything either. I think he was very honest in his portrayal of everything. So, when people say he trivializes it or it's disrespectful,
Did you catch? By the way, sorry. Did you catch both of his cameos?
I did not. I saw the Australian. I didn't see the second one.
Okay, there was another one earlier, but it's just his voice, so I'll leave it at that.
Who?
He had something over his head.
That's one of my favorite scenes.
Okay, we ought to talk about that because that is one of the funniest things I've seen in a long time.
Yeah,
I laughed out loud. Can we talk about it? No, that's
it's in the trailer. It's in the trailer.
Okay, it's in the trailer. Okay.
Yeah, so you have it's in the center of the movie with these guys putting bags on their heads, like a proto Ku Klux Klan. Ku Klux Klan didn't exist at the time, but with the eye holes that didn't work, and they don't just make a joke about it. They go on and on and on and on, and then it becomes a plot point just a few minutes later. It's really masterful comedic filmmaking.
It is great. It is great.
I know they compare it to Blazing Saddles, Mel Brooks's Blazing Saddles, but again, he doesn't shy away from anything, even in Inglourious Bastards. I mean, it's, you know what, and I say that it takes a lot of balls to put these, you know, particular topics onto the big screen, because I don't think a lot of filmmakers have that courage, and I think that's one of the problems that Spike Lee has, is that maybe he hasn't come out with a movie that has, you know, drawn that much of attention. And
which is part of the reason he's talking at all about this subject, is to get his mind on the TV, I think.
Yeah. I think if he had made a movie like this, he would have been, you know, he would have been perfectly fine with this.
Didn't he produce a movie that was, I didn't see it. It was something about if the South had won the war, the Civil War. I didn't see it. Did he produce or did he direct that one?
I think he directed it.
Yeah. I didn't see it.
Bamboozled.
I imagine it's a lot. It's probably a lot more flippant about the
It's like a fake documentary.
This movie was.
No, okay, no, I'm thinking. I think I'm conflating two things. I think he produced one, and then he directed the movie Bamboozled, which was about blacks.
That was horrible. Yeah, no. But he recently was involved. I don't know how recently, but he was involved with the project. But I don't remember how long ago it was. But again, I think he could. I mean, he hasn't been as relevant as, you know, Quentin Tarantino has been. So. I do think it's maybe a cry for attention, but I mean, he's talented. I mean, Spike Lee is definitely talented.
Sure. I used to love the guy.
Yeah, I mean, but at the same time, he shouldn't knock Quentin, because I don't think there are many filmmakers who would have had the courage to make this movie.
Plus, I have a feeling that I may know more about slavery than Spike Lee does. I don't think he has any sort of, black people kind of adopted slavery, even though
we adopted it.
Really. Yeah, well, you're not African American.
I don't count.
Anyway, I don't know. You don't count.
Jamaican.
Because you're
from slavery in Jamaica. Well, excuse me. Well, I'm not going to give.
Well, do you know what the word slave means? No. It's actually from the word Slav.
Oh, well, do tell.
Which is at one point the most enslaved people in the world were Slavic peoples. That's where the word stuck. So, I mean, everybody's been enslaved. Now, the blacks in America happen to be the most recent. Mm-hmm. But, you know, and I don't think we get credit. I mean, like, how long... we went over this. How long did England have slavery? Or France and Sweden? Even Sweden, yes, they had slavery. 1,000 years. Yeah. We had it for less than 100 years here. Getting absolutely no credit for getting rid of it in 100 years.
Oh my God!
Beginning of
you want credit? You want props?
Colonial time is a few hundred extra years.
It is some sort of props.
You want a pat
for
on the
getting rid
back?
of it so much quicker than other countries did. Yeah, even though we were the most recent. Mm-hmm. Of course, the reason we're the most recent is because it was brought here by Europeans.
Yeah, well, the Europeans brought everything. Syphilis,
stupid Europeans.
Cigarettes.
Exactly. I think black people invented slavery, though.
You think so?
They were the first humans were in Africa. They probably invented it. You know, one tribe beats the other one. Hey, we got slaves.
Right.
You know.
So we can make you guys feel guilty for the rest of our lives.
The Romans.
So I think we all can talk. Yeah. I think everybody can talk to some extent about slavery, because everybody has been enslaved. That's all I'm saying.
Well,
it's not just black folks here that
we're enslaved in many.
They're the most recent
forms, I think.
Actually, in total numbers, I saw like part of a magazine article about this. I didn't read it. I don't actually read things, but there's more. Number in terms of numbers, not per capita, but in terms of numbers, there's more people enslaved today than there ever was.
Well, aren't we all slaves?
Nah, I'm not talking metaphorical slavery.
Yeah, well, they changed the name.
Buying Cambodian
they changed the name
girls.
Of slavery they changed the name to marriage from slavery. So if that's,
stop it.
Yeah.
What about those?
Dave's making it funny.
We're not. We don't have that privilege. Sorry.
Hey, before we finish this discussion of Django, I think we need to talk about Samuel L. Jackson and his fantastic performance. It was.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on.
For years, Samuel Jackson has been kind of playing Samuel L. Jackson in everything he does. Yeah. And this is, I think, the first time in nearly a decade I've seen him really disappear into a role and just be flippin' fantastic.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's definitely it's a nice change for him, because he's pretty much played the same role forever. And actually, I was speaking to Lorraine, who had said hello to you guys, by the way. But I mean, really, if you think about it, it's like kind of coming full circle, because she was reminding me that Quentin was really the person that made Sam Jackson like a household name with Pulp Fiction. So it's kind of funny to see him, coming around after all these years and playing a servant. And he did a great job, but do you think it's Oscar worthy? Is my question. I don't think it is.
Or is he a servant?
Is he a servant?
That was the kind of thing. We won't get into that, but that was a good multifaceted role. So
it was. But do you think it's Oscar worthy?
Well, I think what was amazing was that he took a role that, if you didn't look closely enough, would look like it was a caricature. But it was clear, I think, that the character was playing a caricature. Was playing who he thought he had to be in every situation, changed depending on everyone who he was with, very cannily. Yeah.
So in that sense, maybe I think Oscar buzz possibly.
Really?
He won't beat Daniel Day-Lewis for Lincoln.
No. Those eyebrows look fake as hell.
What about Leonardo's performance? What did you guys think about that? A little over the top.
Quite good. It was good to see Christoph Waltz and DiCaprio and Samuel L. Jackson all in the same room, and who's the other cat in there? Well, Jamie Foxx is pretty good. Mm-hmm. He's not as good as the other three folks.
I thought Jamie Foxx had two notes he played through the whole thing.
Yeah,
he was either scared or glowering.
Yeah, I mean, he's done better. I mean, definitely Ray was definitely a better role for him. But
never seen it.
Well, I'm gonna say one of my. You never saw Ray?
Nope.
You've got to see Ray. You've got to see Ray. Seriously, we've got to discuss Ray.
It's a fine film.
I mean, just for his performance alone, he did a phenomenal job. Seriously.
Yeah, he was quite good. I was once on a flight to Tennessee with Ray Charles, and it was great because you could stare right at him and he wouldn't know. Usually I feel bad about staring at celebrities, but I was just going, well, fucking looking at Ray Charles. He has no idea I'm staring at him.
Did you tap him on the shoulder and then have him look around? No.
I tapped the right shoulder and I was on the left side.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No.
Well, didn't do that.
Again, one of my issues, and it was so funny. I mean, Kerry Washington, she's beautiful and she's a talented actress, but I don't think they really used her to her full potential. I mean, they had her kind of, in passing in a couple of scenes here and there, and she's the damsel in distress. But I think that they could have used her more. She can act.
Yeah, I've gone back and forth on that just in my own head because while she had hardly any lines. She didn't have a lot to do. I don't know how you could have done more with her without making it a 4-hour movie instead of a 3-hour movie.
Well, I think, by the way,
then.
By the way, we've seen what Quentin does with the dialogue for women. Did you guys see the what was the one with the grindhouse thing?
Death Proof.
With Death Proof, yeah.
I did not.
Not too good with the chick dialogue.
I don't know if I.
But at least not applying his particular facility he has with male dialogue to the females. Not so good. But I thought she was a great. She was the ideal, he was going for his woman, sort of the idealized. Like I said, what's her name? Broomhilda, and the story of Broomhilda. With Siegfried, and that was a great little through line with the German guy he meets up with. He feels called to help him. So, that's great. That was great.
Are we going to talk about news or anything that's coming up in the news or anything interesting?
Yeah, I got
we done with Django?
Are we?
Should we wrap up Django? Do I have anything else to say? Well, I just wanted to tell black people, I'm not planning. At the white people meeting we had last time, we didn't talk about reinstituting slavery, right? You think it's still bad,
not
right?
last time.
And you know what? You actually have proof that you know a black person and you have a black person as a friend because you have me on your podcast, right?
Yes,
and then you'll get rid of me next week or something.
That was the hope.
I've served a purpose.
Well,
for Django.
We argued about hiring you on for this podcast because if a black person, it's hard to fire them. They might sue you.
Of course.
If they're not working out.
I don't know if we're that litigious, to be honest. We'll just.
No, we. No, you're an integral part of this podcast, Kimmy.
Oh, thank you.
Always will.
Oh, thank you, guys. So, are we supposed to talk about? Are we wrapping it up, the whole Django thing, or what? Do we?
Do you have any parting shots? We can move on from Django, I think. But if you have any parting shots, go for it. Anyway, I thought it worked very well as a fantastic. You know why it's called Django Unchained, by the way? Do you know why he chose that title?
Paid homage to the original Django movie that was made some time ago.
Sort of, yeah. But it's one of those things where I think the original Django, the copyright sort of fell out of ownership, and everyone was able to make their own Django movie. Because the character wasn't really locked down, so there's lots of knockoffs and stuff. And this is his homage. Yeah, it sort of is, but it's his knockoff. That's why he's like, this is my knockoff of Django. Yeah, but at least he had Franco Nero in the film.
That's what I
Who's the
heard.
original Django.
In that horrible scene.
And can we, before we go...
Yeah.
I mean horrible in a good way.
Just watch the movie, everybody. I think it's definitely worth watching.
It's well worth seeing.
It's a must-see, absolutely.
You will talk about it for weeks to come. And also, I think the music was phenomenal. I mean, he's always very good with his music choice as well. So
Well, that's the thing with Quentin Tarantino. And again, Dave, you're a much bigger fan than I am, but I think he's a real master of tone. In that he can use, because there's a ton of anachronistic music choices. There's rap over some of the shootouts, but it works perfectly fine because he sets the appropriate tone for that. It doesn't throw you out of the movie; it fits right in.
Yeah, he used the James Taylor song better than anyone I've seen use any of that type of. You hardly ever see James Taylor music popped in, and that was great.
You hardly ever want to.
I know. Yeah. Oh, that's funny. I spoke to somebody about James Taylor the other day. But speaking of James, why did he use James Remar twice? I love James Remar.
By the way, it was James Taylor with a DJ-A-M-E. The G was silent in James Taylor. I just wanted to make that clear.
Here's where I'm confused, and maybe this doesn't belong in the podcast, but where I didn't spot James Remar, and I love James Remar. What character?
Remar.
He was in the beginning, and he was also, of course, one of the henchmen.
Leo's henchman. He was the shotgun at the end.
But he was one of the brothers in the beginning.
Okay. All right, I didn't know that. I love James Remar. He's Dexter's dad. He's great.
Yeah, there's another thing with Quentin too. He's really good at plucking these actors from the '70s out of things. You might have last time you saw him was he played the watchmaker in a very special episode of Little House on the Prairie or something, and now he shows up as a villain in this one. He's fantastic. Tom Wopat is in this one.
I know Tom Wopat.
Don Johnson.
Russ
Hamblin. Hamlin's
daughter.
Russ Hamblin was there too.
And Russ Hamblin.
Russ Hamblin and his daughter were both in there.
Yeah, Russ Hamblin played son of a gunfighter, and she played daughter of a son of a gunfighter.
Wasn't David Carradine also?
Did you see that Ted Neely was in there too? Did you see that one? Jesus Christ Superstar.
Where was I'm awful at spotting these folks. Where was Ted Neely?
I think he was one of the crazed hillbillies that lived in that cabin or something. Or it might have been one of the dog people. I'm not sure. Are those crazed hillbilly trackers? I think he was one of those guys.
Well,
he's great. He's great at plucking these people.
As long as he wasn't the guy who got naked and shot. There was a lot more of Jamie Foxx's tackle in this movie than I needed to see.
Yeah,
tackle. Was that
and
what
poor
prosthesis?
Walton Goggins having to hold the thing. I love Walton Goggins.
He's great.
Wasn't he? Was it Deadwood? What was he in?
He was in The Shield, and he's in Justified right now.
No. But he was also in that. There was another TV show he was in. I think
he could have been Deadwood.
Michael Ealy. I don't know. He was in a movie. He was on a regular TV series. But to be perfectly honest, that's one of the things that's great about Quentin Tarantino. He can resurrect like a career like nobody's business. I mean, and he sees that that value in that person. Almost like how Christoph Waltz's character saw the value in Django, and again, he sees the value in certain characters, and he resurrects their careers. I know.
Nice way to bring it on home. I like that.
Exactly. He sees the jewel.
No one can say token about Kimmy.
No, stop it. You just did, though. You just did, Kent. I got that.
But I'm
Thanks.
racist.
Yeah. Okay. Whatever.
I can't even make it to the T. I'm so racist.
You're pretty racist. I can't believe I talked to you guys. But so overall, I think we all enjoyed the movie immensely.
Damn fine film.
Yeah.
I saw it with with Ron, and we brought some personal lube into the theater because we have a long history with Quentin. We were there for the opening night at Reservoir Dogs back in the day, and we saw we've seen everyone together.
Well, I have to say he's
very
really
sweet, very gay.
That you've said a few things about fantasizing about Kent and his little Speedos and other things that really make me question your sexuality, Dave.
I've said too much.
But we'll talk about that another time, though. Okay. But it's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. It's okay. So
did we have any entertainment news we wanted to talk about? I thought we talked about the dead Star Trek guy.
You talked about the dead Star Trek.
I just wanted to bring that up.
Well, that was happy actually.
Anybody else have anything that they think needs to be talked about on this podcast right now for the listener? And I mean singular listener. I don't mean that in a group sense.
Well, actually,
you mean
there
for
are three
you
listeners
later
right here.
Together?
You.
For me later when I edit together.
We have 3 listeners: you, me, and Dave, Kent,
At least
and
3.
myself.
We're
right.
good. Maybe we can get a sponsor from that. You know what I like to do is we should just do live reads on this thing until the sponsor calls us to say stop. You porn.
No.
Oh, okay.
Guys.
Hey, so there was another funny story that I just saw the headline. I thought immediately hilarious was there's going to be I saw it on Deadline Hollywood, and oh boy, I lost it here. Let's have a second here. It's like there's going to be an unscripted reality show about TV writers.
No.
Now, how funny is that? It's following them, but right in the article they say the irony is like their jobs have been threatened over the last probably decade by all this unscripted crap, and now there's going to be a reality show about them.
That's
so
ridiculous.
what happens if the show they're working on gets canceled while they have a show about them? Well, just follow them puttering around the house, going back to community college.
I think it's worse too. I think it's going to collapse into a singularity, and it could destroy the whole universe. It's kind of like if Kimberly shakes hands with her antimatter self. You know, I mean, won't that set off a chain reaction?
We've been working very hard to keep them apart.
Have you?
Yeah,
I wasn't aware of this.
Yeah, Dave and I are like Doctor Who, but
Ixnay on the Appleganger day.
No, we aren't.
Now I must find her. Okay, I must seek her out.
We'll make out.
Oh yeah.
You know where I sat too? I wanted to say about this. I sat right in the sweet spot for me in the theater when Ron and I saw Django. Lots of fucking people coming in late.
What?
I didn't notice their skin shade, but because it was dark.
How do
but
people go into a movie late? I'm just saying.
I fucking hate that. The credits are already rolling, and I hate when I got there early. I'm in the front spot where right when you walk into the stadium, there's that walkway, and then there's that seat right there, that whole row where you just walk over there and sit down. You don't have to go down an aisle. I love that one. So I sit there.
It's magic.
Ron and I, and there was empty seats, so I've got an empty one next to me. Ron has an empty one next to him, and I hate these fuckers who come in they come in like 12 minutes in after the fucking the credits have rolled. We're well into the movie, and they're like, "Is anyone sitting here?" I'm like, "Fuck you! I got here early, dude. You do not get to have this awesome seat and take my fucking armrest."
Wow.
And then he starts fucking texting someone when they're texting his friend. Oh my god!
I have a question. So when dudes or guys go into movie theaters and watch movies together, and there is like a whole bunch of space in their aisle, do guys still sit like side by side so that like their shoulders are touching? Is it like? Do you guys need
depends
space?
on your. I think it depends on your BMI because Kent and I are both pretty big.
Yeah.
So we might like kind of be touching. So sometimes we might do is just to spread out.
But generally, though, if we're going to something where it's usually early on in its run, and so we anticipate the theater's going to get full.
Yeah. But usually, if it's an empty theater, there's no need to sit right next to each other. Hell, I'll spread out. You know,
you will
Dudes
spread
are bigger.
out.
We like to spread out.
Yeah.
You sure?
But it's not a gay thing.
No, I love to. I touch Dave all up and down after the show, but during. Gauche.
And you know these fucking texters. Can I just say, you know, fucking texters. First off, don't go to the movies if you're one of these people. Don't go. And you know they have these things it helps a little bit. They have those little promos when you're watching the movie. They integrate it into a scene from a movie, and some like the Alfred Hitchcock one. There's nothing scarier than texting during a film or whatever.
Wait, hold on. I'm just finishing a text. I didn't hear that. Hold on one second. Let me just finish.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry.
But yeah, exactly.
Theater of the mind.
They're not. They don't see the warning because they're fucking texting.
Yes.
First off, but you know what I think they should do is, I haven't been to church in quite a long time. I don't know about you
Obviously.
or Kimmy, but
No.
you know those long reachers where they reach into the middle pews for people to put their money in.
Right.
It's like on a big pole. They need to put a grabber on the end of one of those, and then an usher can walk by and just fucking pluck it out of the middle, pluck it out of their hands.
I think you got a patent that,
That's
Dave.
better. We'll make a as seen on TV commercial for it.
There you go.
It makes movie going so much better. So anyway, any other news stories though that?
How about you, Kent?
No, I looked at Deadline for about 20 minutes and I got bored and gave up.
Yeah, entertainment news usually is super boring.
Not necessarily.
And at the beginning of the year, there's not a whole lot going on.
Wait a minute. I mean, we were going to just talk about some credentials. I mean, I have absolutely none other than the film festival. But let's talk about. Do you want to talk about your movies or you? I
can mention that I am a
El Bicho and Bitch, what?
El Bicho with
Sorry.
Yeah, the old Masked Movie Snobs website. Yeah. It doesn't exist anymore. We started that one, and I do sometimes work under the name of Mil Películas, which is my Mexican wrestler name. That means 1,000 movies.
Wow.
And I do a blog called the trailersnob.blogspot.com where I just talk about upcoming trailers and my opinion of them. What I think. I'm kind of guessing about whether or not I recommend the movie based on the trailer alone.
Yeah, but
I was right about Django so far.
Trailers are very misleading. I think we've spoken about this before. If the makers of the trailers would actually make the films, I think there would be a lot more films worth watching. So
I think you almost think you're being facetious when you say that, but it's really true.
It's true.
The trailer makers they really have to boil it down to what is going to of the little bits that I have here. How am I going to make this good?
Mm-hmm.
Or look good? And they're good at that. They really are. I actually did work on a couple of trailers too for movies that came out.
Oh.
It's nothing that anyone's seen. It was very low level stuff, but I have cut trailers before a little bit.
Do you still have the Mil Películas mask? That's what I want.
Oh yeah, it's up in the drawer. Okay. I'll get it out for a photo shoot. But I have written a couple screenplays that have become movies, but I don't know if I should say them because people will go, "This is a piece of shit. I'm not going to listen to this guy." What? It's true. Is like I've written screenplays that are much better than the ones that have gotten made.
Well, that's one thing that it's just about impossible to tell what the quality of the screenplay was from the quality of the movie that results.
That's true.
Yeah. I will say one of them is a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie, in case the listeners care, and it was from back in it was about JCVD, and it was actually one of his better received movies back in the day, about over a decade ago, but around that. But, okay, it was about 2001, I think.
That's over a decade.
Now you're narrowing it down.
Yeah,
people are going to guess.
I am narrowing it down. I'm not. My name. We use a pseudonym that's got part of my name in it, so that's good. And the other one I'm not even going to mention because it was a very troubled production and barely got made. But yeah, I've written quite a few other ones that are much better. This is actually something I wanted to say too. Is I wanted to encourage all of you young screenwriters out there. Don't write screenplays.
Oh, stop!
Just don't do it.
Give up.
Don't. Yes, give up because, okay, if your dad is an agent, okay, if your mom cleans Spielberg's house or something, and you could leave it on his desk or something, and it's a great script, okay, maybe. But if you're just some dude, they don't want you writing screenplays. They live to say no. That's like kind of like their job is to say no to things. These executives, and if it's not based on some pre-existing material that you own the rights to, fuck it, forget it. Don't bother.
Well,
I would say write novels.
Well, that's
You
it.
can sell them. You can sell them while you're shopping them around to Hollywood. You can actually self-publish them. By the way, this is a good place for Kent to jump in and name a few of his novels.
Yeah, you could write something like Dead First, A Vampire Tooth Necklace by Kent R. Conrad. Give him a try.
I enjoyed. I read Dead First, and I thought it was phenomenal. I was very entertained.
Kent has a very muscular prose style, doesn't he?
It's very muscular indeed. Yes,
it's like the opposite.
I soiled myself a little bit. What's that?
Yeah, Kent's physique is pear-shaped, but his writing is like upside
pear.
down
The
pear-shaped.
flabbier I get, the more muscular my prose gets.
It's more papaya-shaped. No, not pear.
Yeah, but I think, really...
I'm cylindrical, really.
When you think about screenwriters who've been at it for a long time, like... I'm a little older, so I'll go back to guys like Shane Black.
Oh, yeah.
Who everybody kind of, of a certain age will know.
Dude.
Lethal Weapon and Last Boy Scout. He was hot for a while, but he's probably got 15 fucking scripts in his drawer that he can't sell.
Can I tell you a Shane Black story?
What? Oh,
After?
Do you have one? By all means.
Well, like when
Right
I
now.
first
Jump
moved
in.
here, I'm sorry to cut you off like that. When I first moved here, Shane Black, I went to an event where we could meet one-on-one with Shane Black, and he spoke to us, and I think it was like a morning session, maybe about 9 or 10, and he thinks pretty much all of his work is a piece of crap. But the most interesting thing was, and I had said that to him, like, why is it that you're just so judgmental towards your work? And again, you've made some great hits. But the thing that stood out for me, it was a 9 or 10 o'clock session. He had like a 40-ounce of beer or something at 9 or 10 in the morning. Like,
was it malt liquor?
It might have been
last
malt
name
liquor.
is Black.
Yeah, sure, okay. You want to play the black card, okay. But I'm telling you, this wasn't just this was a 40-ouncer at like 9 or 10 in the morning.
Wow.
But he wasn't.
So he sounds like a man in pain.
He was a man in pain, and
But
he doubted the quality of his work. every step of the way. And
you know what he's working on right now is
What's he
Iron
working on
Man
now?
3, so he's doing okay.
He's doing Iron Man 3.
he's fine.
I'm
He's
sorry.
fine. I actually even liked his. He had one that came out with Val Kilmer and which I thought was
Downey Jr.,
I can't remember
yeah.
the name of it.
The Robert
Kiss,
Downey
Kiss,
Jr.
Bang,
one, that was
Bang.
good.
Kiss Kiss Baby. I kind of thought that
was quite good.
kind of a fun film.
That
yeah.
was a fun movie.
It was good enough. I wanted another one. Right after I saw it,
Yeah.
I wanted to see the rest of the adventures of these.
I think he's too good for that
detectives.
now, Robert
So we're
Downey.
gonna have to on Twitter. We're gonna have to follow Shane Black. So it's decided. So shall it be written. So shall it be twittered. So shall it be done. We do have a Twitter account, by the way. I think it's.
Oh, I didn't know.
We do?
It's PMS. Yeah, I just made it today. It's like PMS _ movie snobs because I couldn't get Pretentious Movies. It's too long. I had to get something else.
Aw.
So PMS. That's our little cute little moniker.
Yeah.
We're adorable.
I love it. Well, I appreciated this this moment with you guys, and I'm looking forward to doing it again.
Are we finishing up? Should we do a sign off?
Me too. Yeah, we'll do a little sign-off thing. And, once again, we do have a Twitter account. We do have a Facebook page as well.
What is the Twitter account?
I think the Twitter was PMS _ movie snobs.
Should we?
And that was movie snobs was one word. You can try to search for us there, and we'll
Shouldn't-
start putting stuff up there. Now that we have something to talk about, I can tweet about the show we just did and what we talked about and all these fantastic things.
Is that the definite? Like we really should get the actual,
And
site
there's also a
name.
blog.
Oh.
I think it's Pretentious Movie Snobs.blogspot.com.
Why do you say you think
And,
it is? You say that.
I have the. Oh, I actually do have it written in front of me. Yeah,
Okay.
it's not the Pretentious. It is pretentiousmoviesnobs.blogspot.com. I just went for the blog spot now, the blogger thing.
Yeah, and that'll soon be home.
It's easier to set up.
That'll soon be home to wonderful articles by Dave and myself, probably. If
Oh,
we
I
ever
like
get
that
around.
you left my
Kimmy.
name out. That's good.
And Kimmy.
Okay.
No, I don't
anytime,
expect
too,
anything
So
from
anything.
I think
Nothing, as you should.
Kimmy is so giving in just her presence. I thought it'd be too much to ask.
I appreciate that. I appreciate the
She's
fact.
also like the flowers we have sitting up on the desk as we're talking too. She's a flower with legs.
Aw, you guys are
Aw.
sweet, and that's why I do this because these
black
guys.
rose.
I'm a black rose. I love
That's
that.
gonna.
This is gonna get tired eventually. This whole black
Is there
white
such
thing.
thing as that? I don't know.
But I'm enjoying it right now. But this is gonna be fun. So yeah, everybody that's listening right now, all three of you, you guys should check out our blog and our Twitter page or account and
tune
what
in.
else?
Yeah,
They do.
and explodedgoat.com.
Explodedgoat.com.
Site, and trailersnob.blogspot.com, my other blog.
Watch
and
Django.
come into our world.
And listen to us next week when we're back.
And we were going to come back. This has been the inaugural podcast of PMS, the Pretentious Movie Snobs, and we will be back.
Yeah.
And that's a threat.
Yeah.
That's not a promise. That's a threat.
Okay.
So if you want us not to come back, you can PayPal me to my account. This has been Dave Smith and
Kent Conrad.
And Kimberly Blagrove.
Thank you all for listening.
Yeah.
And try to subscribe to us on iTunes if you would, because that helps. And maybe we can get an actual sponsor instead of having fake sponsors.
We have a real sponsor.
Who's the real sponsor?
I can't disclose that information
so far
right
it's
now.
We have a secret sponsor that doesn't want to be named.
Yeah, that's top secret. We'll share it next week. If you tune in for our next podcast, we'll share that with you.
Ooh, yeah, that's what they call the cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Find out who our secret sponsor is.
Yeah.
We don't have one.
I'm on the edge of my seat.
We'll
The very
share
edge.
that at the next podcast. So stay tuned, folks. It's going to be very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you all for listening. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Come for the thoughtful critique. Stay for the racially charged hostility.